She's somebody well-known in the States, also well-known in Australia, where she's from. Her name is Erin Molan, and she's somebody who I think you're going to like a lot. She's going to be much more prominent here in the United States very soon. Friend of mine. We're on the same podcast network on Salem. Erin, how are you? Thanks for making time.
Joe, you have incredible taste. I would start by saying that. And I would also like to say that I respect the request that you made via your team that I call you Legend. So thank you, Legend, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Never once said that. That's the bold-faced lie, and it tells me a lot about you right up front. Erin, I love the stuff that you do. I see you on Instagram. I see you on YouTube. I've seen you on Laura's show, Laura Trump's show, and I know that you're part of the network now, and you are a bigger presence here as days go on. We find out more about you. Tell me something that the people watching and listening right now don't know. Who are you? Where did you come from? Suddenly, you like stormed on the scene here. I'm here for it, but I don't know why. Tell us more about you. Who are you?
It's a great question, and I love blunt, brutal questions. They're my favorite, Joe. Look, I am Erin. I'm a mother, first and foremost, a single mum from Australia. I've worked in the media for 20 years now, and I started out as a sports host. So I was almost like the Erin Andrews equivalent.
Okay.
So I was the first woman in Australia to host different rugby league programs and the footy show, we called it, which was a massive show that we had here in Australia.
Okay.
So I broke a lot of ground in that space, and that, to be honest, prepared me for the world I'm now in terms of becoming battle-hardened, which I very much am now in this space, because at the time, people in Australia weren't quite ready for a woman to sit in that space and to talk about sport. So I did that for 15 years, but my passion was always politics, national security, foreign affairs. My dad is probably the biggest influence on my life and my career. He was a major general in the army. He actually ran the war in Iraq for a year under General Petraeus. He was also an Australian senator. So he was the first Australian to run an American war. He was a phenomenal soldier. He was then a senator for the Liberal Conservative Party in Australia. And this is my humble brag. He's the most individually voted for politician in Australian history. He's an absolute legend. And we lost him a couple of years ago, Joe, which is, something that I still feel acutely, but what a privilege and an honor to feel so much pain at the loss of someone I loved so much. He's shaped so much of who I am. I say what I think. I don't hold back. I'm not mean, and I think that's where I differ from other people. I don't need to be mean to point out the flaws in your argument and to tear you to pieces. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in. But I'm common sense. I'm not a right-wing nut job. I'm common bloody sense. And I'm a conservative woman who has no suicidal empathy. I have empathy in hordes, but not to the point where it hurts the people that I love and care about. And I care deeply about Israel. I care deeply about the West, the freedom of the West, and I hate terrorism more than I hate anything else, and that is what I fight against. And I guess I came to prominence, Joe, after October 7, when I came up very strongly. I mean, surprisingly, who would have thought, in defense of the victim of a horrific terrorist attack and completely condemning the perpetrators of that terrorist attack. And not for a second would I have thought it would have been controversial, but here we are.
You somehow got in trouble. By the way, great resume and great bio. I love that. It is Erin Molan. You can go follow her right now over on YouTube. And I believe it's at Erin_Molan. Is it not? There's an underscore in there?
It is. You are wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, it is.
You're very welcome. Go and follow her right now. She's getting huge interviews. And again, she's now on the Salem Podcast Network too. In explaining your dad's influence, I had this a similar feeling. My dad was in the Air Force here. It was not running wars, so it wasn't to that level, but certainly the most prominent, the most impactful person on my life. And I was always trying to impress him. And when I lost him in 2010 now, when I lost him, I thought to myself, who am I going to impress now? Why am I going to keep this drive? And it turns out what they've instilled in us is why we keep on doing what we're doing. I'm guessing you have the similar experience.
I love that so much, and you're exactly right. And on so many occasions now, I think, I wish Dad was here, and Mum and I talk daily. I'm the biggest punish in the world, my poor mother. I'm 42 years old, and I still call her multiple times a day. I text her about 10 minutes ago to ask her if I could still eat the mince meat that I'd left out on the bench overnight because I still rely on my mother. I can talk to you about the rise of the Chinese Communist Party, but I cannot tell you if bolognese is good to eat when it hasn't been kept in the fridge. My skill set is very specific. But you're right. I often lament the fact that he's not here, but then, you know, I know that he is still here in so many ways. I know that he would be immensely proud. There are times when it hurts so much that I can't pick up the phone and talk to him.
Yeah.
But the drive thing is such a key point, and I've never, Joe, thought about it like that in regards to, you're right, and probably to my detriment. I've always tried to impress my dad. Nothing else mattered. Nothing else mattered unless he was impressed, or and believe you me, he was, it wasn't that he was hard to impress. I mean, he was an incredible dad. I never felt like, you know, a failure. I never was made to feel that I wasn't good enough. But because of the standard he set for himself, and because of the things that he would achieve, because of his work ethic, which was insane. When he was in Iraq for that year, he would sleep an hour a night, if that, and nothing else mattered but getting the job done, and to the highest quality and with the greatest moral compass. But I feel like it's increased my drive and my desire to be incredible and to be impressive and to be successful despite his absence.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's exactly what drives me as well. And I think that we, in their legacy, continue to do what we would have done or what we tried to do when they were around. And I really appreciate, he was hard on me, probably harder than your dad was on you, although I don't know the details of it. He's pretty hard on me. And I think that if he weren't, I probably wouldn't be as driven, because I love to say, oh yeah, watch this. Oh yeah, well, look what I just achieved. And then he would go, he'd tell everybody else how proud he was without telling me. Which is actually kind of an interesting thing. It's Erin Molan. Go and follow her at Erin_Molan over on YouTube. Also, she's on Instagram. I think both the show and you are on Instagram separately. One follows me, one doesn't. We'll have to talk about that. We'll have to figure out what your problem is.
Well, I only control one account, and I've got this incredible guy who edits my stuff, who lives in New York, who's amazing, and he controls that account. And sometimes he'll post things and I have to be like, Ellie, this makes me look like a complete knob, because people think I'm running it. So I promise you, I'm going to make sure he follows you. Or is it me?
No, you follow me. You follow me. He doesn't. You follow me. Yeah, he doesn't.
Well,
yeah.
Sure.
No, we're all good. Sure. Go and follow her everywhere. Again, a rising star here in the States, somebody who's very known in Australia. Let's talk about, if you don't mind, the whole footy thing, because I don't know a whole lot about it, but now that I know a little bit more about you and your dad and sort of where you come from, that had to be hard, just to be, let's talk about football or whatever. Let's talk about sports or whatever it happens to be, and not inject a little something. And I know that you no longer work there. And I saw an interview that you did with somebody, but I didn't really grasp it all, because I don't live there. I don't know what went down. Did you get in trouble for having views? Did that happen on that show? What happened with that?
Look, so I'd already moved into Sky News Australia, into a very different space once October 7 had occurred. So I'd left football maybe 4 years ago now.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so essentially that had been my life for 14, 15 years, but my passion and every waking second that I spent outside of that space, which was, you know, hosting Friday Night Football, the footy show, Sunday footy show, doing sideline at
you're not really talking about football, right? You're talking about soccer, aren't you?
No.
Because you keep saying football.
How dare you? Definitely not soccer. Rugby league, the
you
real
don't get
sport.
It? Oh, it's not even soccer. It's actually rugby you call football?
No.
It is so confusing. So now listen, if you're gonna use the words right, you've got to do the exact opposite of what it sounds like. We have football, so we throw it. Yes, you guys have rugby, so why do you call that football? You're running over people, right? Nobody's kicking it, are they?
Well, I mean, they do kick it at times. There are field goals, there are conversions, there are also chip kicks, so someone can score a try. But look, I get your point. And to be honest, we have the same argument in Australia when it comes to AFL. Aussie rules, which is in stiff competition to rugby league. But look, I had moved because, Joe, you get sick as a woman in her late 30s of talking about blokes' groins at 11 p.m. on a Friday night. I decided that I had potentially
What is wrong with you? That's probably why don't you work there anymore? You weren't supposed to talk about their groins. Talk about the score. And you're single too. Okay, so you leave there. You probably had what I had as a TV news anchor here in the States. As a TV news anchor on a network affiliate, you can't have an opinion. You can't say anything that you feel. This is what happened. This is how it happened. I went there and I saw this and I smelled this and I touched that. And that's it. And that got so boring. I literally got an email from a guy one night that said, great, another liberal on the air. And I went, what are you, stupid? I'm a conservative. Yes. So I at some point had to say, I like that. It's easy. I wear makeup and I talk for a half an hour. Or I can go and jump both feet into something that's going to get me in trouble. Sounds like you did that.
Well, and that's the key point, isn't it, Joe? And what you say is so powerful because that is actually what you are meant to do when you are in a news role.
Yes.
That is the point. You are meant to tell people the facts without narrative, without bias, without opinion, and let them make up their mind. Now, that doesn't exist anymore. You're watching CNN, BBC, MSNBC, Sky News UK, all of them with complete farcical narratives that put out terrorist propaganda as though it is fact. So I, like you, was exactly like that. When I worked in news, I will tell you the news, but I will not tell you how I feel about it because that is not my job. I always had way too many opinions to last in that space for very long. So when I left Channel 9 and left sport, I went to Sky News Australia to host an opinion show. Oh. So I did that show for 3 years. I was also on breakfast radio, also a columnist in Australia's largest newspaper as well, doing opinion, doing political commentary, national security, foreign affairs. Then October 7 happened and there was massive blowback. Now I didn't lose my job on Sky News because of that reason. They're very good in that space, Sky News Australia. Other jobs, I mean, that's neither here nor there. But essentially, they said it was a budgeting issue. But, I mean, look, I was expensive. I thought I was worth it. Clearly not. Clearly not. But it all kind of blew up. And I tell you what, it's the first time in 20 years that I had lost jobs in the media. So I'd had a fairly blessed existence. And I think for about 3 minutes, I went, holy hell, I'm completely screwed. Help. And then I went, wait a minute. My stuff goes viral online. It's massive in the US. It's getting so much traction. All they are is a studio. All they are is a studio. I now sit in my third bedroom in amongst my clothes in a studio that I've built. And I say exactly what I feel, and I'm reaching tenfold more people, which is, I see your following. I see your numbers. They're insane. You're doing exactly the same thing. And I don't get told what to do, what to cover, what slant to take. Yeah. I don't get told what to wear. It's the most freeing existence I've ever had. And I live with passion and purpose, and I say what I think. And that is so refreshing.
Erin Molan is her name. Go and follow her everywhere. You'll be glad you did. It's interesting because I tried to straddle the line, I think like you're saying that you did as well. I was a television news anchor. My last job was in Albany, Schenectady, Troy, New York, which is the capital region of New York, where the capital of the state is. That's about 3 hours north of New York City. So I'm there on the CBS affiliate 6 and 11 o'clock at night, every night. And then on the weekend, I started dipping into talk radio again. I started in radio, got back into television, and then got back into radio. So now I'm on the weekends having an opinion on a Saturday morning on the local whatever. And that's it. The newspaper freaked out. Everybody freaked out. How the hell does this guy have an opinion? How dare you have this nut job on television news? And I left actually a year early out of my contract because I had to do what you had to do. Yeah, I had to go and have an opinion. I had an opportunity to come here to Texas, where we've been ever since. So I think it sounds like you tried to straddle the line as well. The whole budgetary concerns, I mean, I get it, but I think people probably were afraid of how strong-headed you were about how you felt about stuff. I could be wrong about that. I don't know that much about you, but I'm guessing.
Yeah. I feel like you're living inside my head because that to me was the greatest challenge, and that's a scary place, so good luck in there. The greatest challenge that I found, because at one stage I was hosting sport, I was hosting talkback radio. I was also hosting breakfast radio, which was like an FM, Taylor Swift kind of comedy show. Yeah. And I was writing a column for a newspaper, plus I was writing a column for a magazine. So in some spaces I had to be cutesy, relatable, mummy, kind of, fashion, pop, etc. And in the other space, I'm calling out terrorism. I'm calling out, China for their desire to invade Taiwan. I'm talking about foreign policy in the US. I'm talking about Ukraine. I'm banned in Russia because I called Vladimir Putin a warlord. So and I thought, we all like to think we're more capable than we are. I thought that I could do this because there are so many different sides to my personality, but it got to the stage where breakfast radio was so paranoid about the things I was saying so I would, at night on Sky News, be saying things that were getting me banned in Russia. And in the morning, I'm trying to appeal to 40-something mums in Western Sydney as this kind of safe space that's not divisive or not controversial. Right. And it's impossible, Joe. And I tried for a long time. And rather than actually, excelling in all spaces, you can't in any, because even on I was holding back on Sky because I was worried about breakfast radio. I was holding back there because I was, it's too hard basket. So now I feel like the only version of me I can be is the one that is authentically, which sounds so wanky, but the one that is authentically me. I can't hold back. I'm not good at it. I don't care about Taylor Swift. I don't care about pop culture. I'm horrendous at it. I tried really hard, but it's not my thing. And now I'm doing exactly what I think I was born to do, and that's be in this space.
It's Erin Molan. Go and follow her everywhere. She's got a great podcast now. You have episodes out now with Salem or not? You do, don't you?
I do, absolutely. So 3 weeks. So I do Monday. I originally was going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I thought, why would I do such a silly thing? I can have a 4 or 5 day weekend.
Right.
So I will do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning with the time zone. So I come out at 6 a.m. ET, Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which works really well with the time zone because I can kind of cover things that maybe other people have gone to sleep and haven't seen. So I kind of get you up to date in the morning and then go crazy with my thoughts, my common sense, my views, which is a lot of fun. I genuinely love it.
You brought up October 7th many times so far in this interview. I've seen your videos on this. I'm a Christian guy. I never knew why Israel was so important until I asked my grandfather, who came on a boat from Italy. And I said, Grandpa, why do we care so much about Israel? He said, but Joey, it's a promised land. It's the chosen people. And I said, I don't even know what that means. He showed me the biblical verses. And now I get it. Geographically, that's what Israel was. Anciently, that's the same place. And the fact that the Jews couldn't have it back didn't make any sense to me. And why there's a war about it doesn't make any sense to me either. I think you could have had a two-state solution a few years ago. You might have had it in the late 90s. You might have had it sometime during the early 2000s. But after October 7th, there is no two-state solution. You can't just have a solution where you've got a government of an entire strip of land that's entire charter is to eliminate you. Why is it so controversial to say it's bad to kill 1,300 innocent people on October 7th, and it's okay for who you did it to exact the revenge they need by getting rid of the government that did it, that they haven't gotten rid of yet? They still have hostages. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you're more cogent on this than I am. But what is it that I'm missing that we somehow are calling it a genocide after one side was attacked by the other?
I wish, and you've nailed it. And you actually, every single thing you've said there is completely correct. The answer to how that could be difficult for anyone to comprehend, I have no idea. There should be nothing controversial about it. You look at the situation now, Joe, you look at October 7 and what occurred and the atrocities. And I've been to Israel. I've been to every location in which atrocities occurred. I've stood in rooms where little kids were burnt alive. I've stood at a music festival where young people were slaughtered. I've watched every second of tape that exists from that day, and it is atrocious. So that occurs. Hostages are then taken. They are still in Gaza. Nearly 50 of them are still in Gaza. The people who carried out October 7, Joe, have not disappeared completely, so their threat is gone. No, the opposite. They are still in control and still in power with hostages. So what is Israel supposed to do in this circumstance? Because it's not like they've said, oh, we made a really big mistake and we promise we're never going to do it again. No. The day the first ceasefire was brokered by the Americans, they went on television, the leaders of Hamas, and they said, we will repeat these atrocities again and again and again. So if Israel did not face a threat anymore and had all their people home, you could argue legitimately, enough with Gaza now. Get out. No more revenge is needed. You don't need to punish people anymore. Hamas is eradicated. All hostages are home. Let's work on a solution. That's not the case. There are still hostages. There are still terrorists who have promised to do it again. Israel is fighting the kind of enemy that no one has fought in history in terms of the way they embed themselves within the civilians, within the infrastructure. General Petraeus was on my show a little while ago, former director of the CIA, America's most famous general, arguably, ran the Battle of Fallujah with my father. And that was one of the most complex battles they fought against the terrorists in Iraq. He said that was nothing compared to what Israel is facing in Gaza. And he's quite critical of the way Israel is fighting this war in Gaza. He doesn't think they're doing everything right, but he acknowledges the complexity of who they are fighting. This is not black or white. The war and the justification of it is black and white. it is good versus evil. But
Yes.
the way in which Israel has to fight this, and they minimize civilian casualties like no one else. That's not a throwaway line. They do everything in their power. So for people to say, oh, it's a genocide, that is BS. That is absolute BS for all the idiotic leaders who have just recognized Palestinian states as though they're some kind of hero. They will not help one child in Gaza. All they have done is enable and empower the evil terrorists who have committed these kids to a lifetime of misery because, as you said, their charter, the only reason they exist is to murder and kill Israelis and Jews. The whole thing is insane that people can't see it for what it is. They are terrorists. They are in power.
Erin, there's a reason. You're right on all counts. But the problem is, you mentioned Sky News. I also see CNN. I also see, fill in the blank other international news source that keeps on saying that Israel is performing a genocide. And we know that because 67,000 children were killed. The numbers that they're putting out don't even make sense by the population of Gaza. The numbers they're putting out are actually unreasonable. There are more people killed than even live there, which doesn't make any sense.
Francesca Albanese, the special rapporteur, went online a couple of days ago and said the number of children under 5 that have been killed, there are not even that many children under 5 in Gaza. But you're right. And this is, the media plays such a crucial role in this. You could almost dismiss if there were idiotic influencers or pretend feminists online saying things that weren't true. But when the BBC, when Reuters, which is meant to be, which feeds most news organizations their information, says as fact information that's given to them by terrorists, most people, they're not you and I.
I have to stop you. I have to stop you because you just made my point. They're getting the information from Hamas. The Hamas news service is feeding these other services, and instead of saying, according to the Hamas ministry, which we can't verify, that's all they have to say. We can't verify, but they say, and then you put the numbers out, and then you follow it up with, there aren't that many under 5-year-olds living there, so we're unclear on the number. All I want them to do is, listen, if Israel's performing something that looks like a genocide, I want to know if that's truthfully happening. It's not. That's the problem. I want you to continue, but I wanted to, you literally jumped into my brain there, because the point I was making was, who's your effing source? And your source is Hamas, and we're supposed to believe the guys that did it. That's like saying Hitler is the source. That would be bad.
Exactly. Or, hey, guys, blah, 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 blah. Who told you that? Oh, well, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Oh, and the Taliban said so. Well, maybe give me some context so I can determine as a listener or as a viewer of your program whether or not I give that validity. And this is the issue in that, Joe, you and I are engaged in this, right? Right. Not everyone is. And that's okay. I always think in my mind, whenever I'm speaking to an audience, I'm not speaking to a scholar. I'm not speaking to a national security expert. I'm speaking to, and in my mind, it's always a single mom in Western Sydney or, a woman in America who listens to bits and pieces, but is not, I guess people listening to me specifically now are engaged, but for the most part, mainstream media, they're talking to people who cost of living crisis, their kids are driving them insane, their partner's an asshole. They don't have the capacity to listen to a news bulletin and then go and research like you or I would do, or to look at other sources. So when you have mainstream media feeding a narrative, like I hear a headline on the ABC, our local ABC, Day 700 of Israel's illegal invasion of Gaza.
Oh, my goodness.
That is a headline. So someone listening to that who's not engaged because it feels far away and what has it got to do with me? Goes, oh, that's awful. I then see another story on a mainstream media here network in Australia that starts off when there was a hostage/prisoner exchange, and the opening shots of the biggest news service in Australia showed this emotional woman crying as her son was on the shoulders of someone else who'd just been released from a prison in Israel. And the reporter's voiceover said something to the effect of, a family reunion, decades in the making, tears streaming. And I'm watching going, wow, you're making this out like a beautiful family reunion. And what they said was right. It was a family reunion, decades in the making, and tears were streaming. What they didn't tell you was he blew up a bus that killed kids 10 years ago. So if you're watching at home as an everyday Australian who is not that engaged in news or current affairs, you're watching your once a night hourly news, you feel empathy for them because that's the narrative that's created for you by the news. And you go, oh, why would Israel arrest that guy? He looks so sweet. His mum's so sad. This is what we're fighting against. And these are legitimate news organizations. They're meant to be.
Yeah,
It's one of the biggest issues.
alleged so-called legitimate or news organizations. Erin
Well,
Molan, go and
exactly.
follow her everywhere on Instagram. She's a great follow. Go follow her and the show on Instagram. Also, go to the
Amazing.
YouTube at Erin_Molan, Molan, right now. Go and do that. I want to finish with Israel this way. If Hamas today said, "Here are the rest of your hostages, and we just want this to stop," it's over, because Israel has the firepower, as you know, to just completely ground everybody. The whole place is gone, decimated. Gaza doesn't exist anymore. Let's rebuild it on top of all the dead bodies. They could kill 2 million people today. They have the ability. They don't want to do that. I don't want them to do that. By the way, I believe that you and I both would call out Israel if they did something wrong here. The fact is, we don't know from a legitimate news source what's going on over there. The only source we're getting is Hamas. Israel is saying that isn't what's happening. If they were doing a genocide, we would not be on their side. We're not stupid.
100%.
Right.
And I know this whole, oh, I'm a mother, you're a father. I'm a human. I read a headline about a child anywhere and I feel physically ill. The thought of a child, I see the images out of Gaza, and believe you me, a lot of them are fake. There is definitely real suffering in Gaza.
Yes.
And I feel physically ill at the thought of it. And what I say to you is this: when it comes to calling out Israel, absolutely, they will not get everything right. And they have made mistakes. There is no doubt about it. But what I would say is the justness of this war, and not their right to defend themselves, but their duty to defend themselves and their people, should not be questioned.
Yes.
The method by which they do that, you absolutely can question, and you should, absolutely.
It is Erin Molan. Let's talk about Charlie Kirk, if you don't mind. Did you know him or not?
Yeah. No, I'd never met him, and he was one of the reasons that I signed with Salem, because I had so much respect for him. So no, I never got to meet him.
Charlie had been on my show 4 times. I never met him in person, although we were both in Mar-a-Lago at the same time. I didn't walk up. He had people around him, and I don't want to bother the guy. But we knew each other well enough that we would text back and forth a lot. He was going to come on my show soon because I'd recently joined the same podcast network. And again, he'd been on my show when he was 24. He was on the show talking about, I said, what is this Turning Point USA thing? I posted that video recently over on YouTube, and he's like, there's kind of a bunch of young people trying to make sure that we love America and so on. When the news hits, I know what the impact was here. I saw them in Seoul, South Korea, out there memorializing him. I saw 1 million people show up in London. What happened in Australia? Did they know who this guy was?
It's a great question, and it's something I've thought a lot about, actually, over the past week or so when it comes to the reaction here. He was definitely known, absolutely, but like most places, there's a silent majority here, but I think even more so in Australia, Joe. I think even to a greater extent, I feel like we are lazy. Australians are lazy. They're lazy when it comes to protesting, and they're lazy when it comes to publicly honoring and that kind of thing. Like, we care deeply and we're good people, but in terms of big public showings of grief and sadness, there really wasn't. There was a couple of smaller kind of gatherings that people did, but I compare it as well to the pro-Palestinian stuff that happens here, that where they march across the Harbour Bridge with Hamas flags. The minority here are very loud and very vocal. So we, of course, had the useful idiots who have never listened to Charlie in their life, but, have seen a headline saying that, he doesn't think a 7-year-old should be able to change their gender, so he's a bigot, and he thinks women should, have children and get married. What a misogynistic animal. So you've got people like that, these pretend feminists and activists who came out with vile things like they did all over the world. But I think for the most part, people were deeply moved by it, and particularly people in my circle. I think, it hit differently. It really hit differently, and we are different to you in America, and the Constitution and different elements. But that whole freedom of speech and the way in which he engaged, and I think we don't have anyone like that in Australia. There's a risk when you go out publicly and you are vulnerable and you allow people to challenge you and to question you,
right,
to the point where you could be exposed for not knowing. I look at what he did, and he always knew. He was insane in that, but there's no one here that did that. I think he was a very unique, very special person, and I don't know who fills the void, but the reaction here, I think, was very similar. It was mixed, but it should have been, everyone should condemn the killing of anyone when it's in those circumstances. It was horrific.
I think a lot of us fill the void. It's going to take a lot of people to fill his shoes, without a doubt. I mean, a ton of people. Charlie was a really nice guy, and his secret sauce was, as you said, he was insane with the knowledge, but also that he would sit there, as you said, and have people walk up and say, "I hate you. I can't stand how you think. I can't believe that you said this thing." And he gave his platform, which was enormous, to people who hated him. This is something the left would never do. You know, we've got people in Congress that you probably know of, like Ilhan Omar and AOC and people like that. Those two, especially, have been disgusting about Charlie Kirk since he died. They've been misquoting him and lying about him and taking him out of context. But the one thing that makes me sleep well at night is knowing that he would have sat down with them across a table and had a very calm conversation, where, Erin, they would never do that. What's the climate like in Australia? Can you sit down with somebody who disagrees with you? Does that happen there?
Look, it's another great question. You should do this for a living. You
I
really
get paid
should.
to ask questions.
Look, it's not so much, and it's another thing that really, I mean, when I was hosting my show on Sky, which is a conservative network here in Australia, I would constantly beg, borrow, steal, try and get those who I disagreed with to come on my show, and it was I'm almost none for none. You know, people are terrified of it. So you'll see, you know, whereas Sky News will often invite people with opposing views, and you get these great debates. Those who lean to the left, which is the vast majority of other networks, I mean, you couldn't to get a conservative voice on there, it's almost impossible. So we don't embrace it. And I think even from an entertainment perspective, even from a cheap advertising ratings perspective, you should be doing it, because it's much more entertaining than an agree fest where everyone just agrees with each other. But I think for me, like, my whole thing is, I love to engage with people who disagree with me. And the old me didn't. The old me hated that. The me that was younger and that was, you know, less confident, thought of it as criticism, you know, was appalled by the thought that someone might not agree with what I had to say. Now I embrace it, because I think it's so powerful. And I try to surround myself with people who will challenge me. I try to watch things that I will disagree with. I think you can only be so firm in your own beliefs and so locked into them if you are constantly challenging them and constantly exposing yourself to other perspectives. And it's so interesting, because I will watch Al Jazeera and it's painful. I will listen to people who I know I disagree with vehemently, who I think are essentially useful idiots. And that only makes me more assured that I am on the right side of history, and more encouraged to continue the fight that I fight for, which is for freedom, democracy, peace, all the things that we should fight for daily.
Right. Well, I think you have to. Those who are on our side, the smart side, we actually will sit down and listen to the other side. Because, Erin, I believe that you're the same ilk as I am. If you hear somebody say something that disagrees with you, but they make sense and it seems right, you'll research it, you'll learn it, and you might agree with them. That the left doesn't do that. The left will only stay in their echo chamber. And how dare you even say something that's contrary, to the point of Charlie Kirk's dead because he dared to say something contrary. What I always say when I go on my TikTok lives or whatever at night, what I always say to people is very simple. Because they'll say, why are you so stuck in your ways? Nobody can change your mind, blah, blah. And I'll say, well, listen, no, you could if you make a good point. The problem is I know your side better than you do. And because I know that side, that's why I haven't chosen it. I would have, had I known both sides and yours was better, I'd be a liberal right now. In Australia especially, though, it jumps out at me that during COVID, they were arresting people on their front porches. What is the story? I don't understand. See, I don't understand the rights that you do or don't have. We, of course, have the Constitution, which is a document that restricts the government from taking away our God-given rights. Do you have a Constitution that's like that? Can the government shut off your Constitution when they want, like they can in Canada? Our government can't shut ours off. Can they do that there? Tell me what is life like? What is liberty like in Australia?
It's a great. I'm not.
Is it a good question again? It's a great question, wasn't it?
I'm going to get to Tova, but what I want to say to you on your last point very quickly, again, I feel like you're in my head. I am exactly in the same place that you are when it comes to someone challenging me. I've said to you, I'm banned in Russia. I think Vladimir Putin is a warlord, absolutely. But when I started to see different things about Zelensky, I started to think, oh, wait a minute. Now Putin's still a warlord, But that doesn't mean that Zelensky's a complete clean skin or that he's perfect. And then I started to look into different elements of that. And my view shifted, not on the illegitimacy of the war, which I believe completely that Russia is the aggressor and they're wrong and that Ukraine is the victim.
Yes.
But I shifted with new information and with new facts. And I don't mind doing that. If someone says something to me that makes me go, that's a really good point, like you, I will then go in and look deeply into it. And if I want to then come out, and it doesn't mean you're changing your position or you're backtracking, I'm saying, hey, with new information at hand or with another perspective, this is what I think now. It evolves, and we should. If you refuse to evolve, that's so sad. That's boring as bat beep. So I agree with that entirely.
Well, I want to, before we move on, though, I want to jump on that just for a second. I call him the little dictator. Yeah. I think that Zelensky is not a good guy. He has shut off free speech. He shut off religion. He shut off elections in his country. I mean, we had elections. We had elections during the Civil War in this country. He can't have an election in Ukraine. And I wonder where all the money went.
Yes, the money. That's one of the biggest things for me. So whilst
you can question that.
Putin, exactly. You can say the war is illegal and it's unjust and Putin's a warlord. It doesn't make Zelensky a good bloke necessarily, does it? So yes, I'm with you 100%. In Australia, we obviously don't have a constitution. And look, COVID was what we have. States basically determine it themselves. So each state was different in Australia. Victoria was particularly bad. Western Australia was particularly bad with lockdowns and people were being arrested for going for a walk in the park. It was insane, but I have to be completely honest with you, Joe. As someone who has social anxiety and is a loner by nature, I loved the lockdowns, and as someone who got to continue.
What's wrong with you? What?
So because it meant
this was going so well. This was. I'll say this. My family and I probably are more like you than not. Having said that, I didn't want them to tell me I couldn't. Even though I'm happier in my space, I'm happier in my little, my little production studio, or we're watching TV or whatever. I get it, but I want to be able to be the one who made the choice. I don't want the government to tell me I can't. I probably wouldn't have anyway, but don't tell me I can't, because now I really want to. No, but
that's the same as like dating. I feel like I have zero. This is my first time single as an adult in my entire life, and it's been 10 months, and it's been the greatest, most peaceful 10 months of my life. Now, I don't want a partner at all, but anyone who I interact with in that way, I want you to want me as a partner. I don't want you, but I want you desperately to want me. If you don't, then I will want it more. So it's a similar type thing with the government. I mean,
so you're a contrarian. You're a contrarian. I want you to do that thing, and I'm good with that thing, but don't tell me I have to do that thing. No, I get it. So
exactly right.
You said something early in the conversation that really, it hit my ears kind of funny. Maybe I didn't hear you right. It sounded like you said the liberal conservative party. But what is that? You can't be a liberal conservative party. No, you can't. No. We both speak English. That doesn't make sense.
So in Australia, the Liberal Party is the Conservative Party.
Stop it.
Insane. I know. So the Liberal National Coalition are the Conservatives. So I said to you before, my dad was a Liberal senator. Oh, my gosh, you probably were going, what the hell?
Yeah, I was waiting to find out what that was all about. Yeah.
So good. Yeah, so the Liberal Party in Australia is a Conservative Party. So John Howard was the head of the Liberal Party, who was probably arguably our greatest ever Prime Minister, an incredible Prime Minister. But yes, the Liberal Party here is the Conservative Party. So the Liberals and the Nationals have a coalition, and they're Conservative. Currently in office is Anthony Albanese, who's head of the Labor Party, who just recognised the Palestinian state, i.e. rewarded Hamas for their efforts. Congratulations, Hamas. It must mean so much to you.
Wait. No, stop right now. Erin, stop it. Mm-hmm. There is no Palestinian state. What is he recognizing? The West Bank, which is Judea and Samaria? Is he recognizing Gaza, which is not? What is he recognizing? Like geographically, what are we recognizing?
Himself. He's trying to appease sections of society that he needs to vote for him. He when he was at university, he was out there at the pro-Palestinian marches. It is insanity. Same as Macron, who gets up there in the UN today and says, I want to pave a pathway for peace. Do you, Macron? May I suggest you stop providing cover for terrorists? That might be a really good start for you. You've got Starmer, you've got Carney in Canada. These people are useful idiots who are doing things to appease domestic politics when the vast majority of the people don't actually bloody want it. It's insanity. But our Prime Minister, Joe, cannot get a meeting with Trump. Cannot. He's in America now. Trump refuses to meet with him. How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
Extremely. Now, by the way, it's Macron. Macron. You can't say Macron. Macron. Get right out your nose. Macron. So you okay? The liberal conservative party, that's the good party. Then you've got some labor thing, that's the bad one.
Yeah.
And they're saying we recognize Palestine. I just want to know what they're recognizing. Does he say geographically what he means? Because it doesn't exist.
I have to get the specifics of it, but he was asked about the river to the sea a little while back and something else, and he
was cool with that.
He was asked about a specific locations of this area that he's so passionate about recognizing, and he couldn't answer, so he essentially just faded out and coughed because he couldn't even think of the name of what river. This is the insanity of it. You can't recognize a place that you don't even understand where it is, what surrounds it, what it means. It does not exist.
If he's singing River to the Sea, it's Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. That means Israel doesn't exist. He doesn't know that? And
he was asked
who is he?
about it,
This is a big deal there? This is a big deal in Australia, this guy?
He kind of has stumbled in, and he loves rugby league, so he and I used to have a great relationship. But that's
and he's good then. Forget all the other stuff.
Well, no, now he won't take my calls. It's so bizarre.
Wow,
I look at his reaction to what happened on October 7, alongside so many others in the West, but particularly in Australia, we have seen so many anti-Semitic, vile, awful terrorist-loving acts publicly in front of our famous landmarks. October 9, in front of the Opera House, we had people celebrating the massacre of October 7.
Stunning.
And it was up to our leader to come out and say, we do not accept that, not in our country, not on this land, to determine what we accept as a people and what we don't. And they failed miserably. And everything that's followed since has been a reflection of that significant failing of leadership at the top. As you know, any organization, any radio network, any club, any group, any country, the tone is set from the top down of what you accept, what your standard is. And we failed miserably, and our country has gone downhill significantly since then. And today, another blight on who we are as a nation, on the nation that my dad went to war for, that people have fought for. We have now gone and said to a terrorist organization, we acknowledge you, we love you, we accept you, we applaud you. It is disgraceful. And I know the vast majority of Australians think it is disgraceful.
Well, hopefully you guys can rise up and get somebody better in there to represent you, because we love Australia. I mean, here in the States, we really think the world of Australia, but we're very confused by some of the decisions that you make, especially if it's the liberal conservative party. Stop that crap. Call them conservatives, call them liberals, and then we can understand it. We're like, oh, I'm on the side of the good guys, and you're not really sure who the good guys are. Let's finish it with this. Will you spend time here in doing the job now with the Salem podcast? Because I know, again, you've been on with Laura, you've been on with me now, and hopefully you're going to get on with everybody. I think that you will once they realize who you are and how great you are. What's the plan? Are you going to stay there? Because you said you don't ever want to leave the house. I'm guessing you haven't left in years. But will you leave the house and come here and go to New York and do the big networks and all that? What's the plan?
I'm wearing pajama bottoms. It would mean I'd have to shave my legs.
I'm wearing sweatpants, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Look, I actually do a lot of travel. So I'm actually coming to the US next month and also in November for talking gigs and for different meetings and different interviews and that kind of thing. So I definitely will be spending a lot more time in the US. The issue is I've got a 7-year-old daughter. I'm a single mum. My priority and my number one job and love in the world is her. And the beauty of this job is that I now get to walk her to school in the morning. So I'm very blessed. I spend a lot of time with her, but a lot of travel as well. So I basically will go in for like a night or two on the ground in the US and then fly home.
Wow.
So we'll try and figure it out. And look, her dad was an awful husband, but he's a great dad. So I'm very lucky. He's amazing. And we have a great relationship and we co-parent beautifully. So yes, I'll be doing lots of different pieces, lots of travel. I think I've got 6 or so countries in the back end of the year. Wow. I had about 6 or 7 at the start of the year, all quick trips, but I love it. How blessed we are to do this job, right? Like I think about even, any time I go to think that I, say that I'm tired or that it's arduous or the death threats, or I think, shut up. Yeah. You are so blessed. Yeah. I get to fight for what I believe in, and some people actually care what I think and what I say, and what a privilege that is.
It's certainly a privilege to do what we do. I think we're very, very lucky. And at the end of the day, hopefully we're going to change a mind and a heart here and there. It is Erin Molan. Go and follow her right now at Erin_Molan over on YouTube. Go get her over 100,000, pretty close to 100,000 now. Over on Instagram. You're 200-something thousand on Instagram, which is great. Go and follow her there as well.
You're double me. You're double me on Instagram.
At least, but come on. Obviously. But no, go and follow her everywhere and go check out this podcast at the Salem Podcast Network. It's available wherever podcasts are. Erin, thanks a million. Great to get to know you a little bit. Let's do this again, can we?
I would absolutely love to. You are
Me too.
Genuinely, you've earned the title legend. Thank you so much for your support, for you're just amazing. I'm really grateful, and thank you for everything that you do. Your show is insanely good, and I would hope to reach 1% of the heights that you have at the moment. So thank you.
I don't know about all that, but thank you very much for the kind words, and we will do it again, I promise. That's going to do it for Unshaken and Unafraid with Joe Pags for this time. We're going to come back and do another one very soon.